welcome to the Bourbon Talk Show, the ABV Network's original YouTube series where we interview some of the most interesting people from the world of bourbon. Today on the show, we'll be talking to Freddie Noe of Jim Beam and Royce Neeley of Neeley Family Distillery. My name is McNew. Please join me in welcoming my co-host for the evening, Steve Akley.
Hey, McNew, what's going on? Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you. We intentionally turned on the volume of the crowd just so it wouldn't get overwhelming. So it was really uproarious.
We don't want to hurt anybody's ears or anything.
Right. So McNew, we've got some great guests tonight. Obviously, Freddie Noe, 8th generation distiller for Jim Beam. We've got Royce Neeley, 11th generation distiller and his family. You know, the combined total time that these two families have been distilling in America is 487 years.
Wow.
That's way longer than the country even. So obviously there's plenty of overlap there, but it's amazing to think about. I don't know if we could have two guests on where we get more distilling time than that. 487 years is pretty amazing. So that's just in the US. I'm sure their families were distilling, before they got here from Germany and Ireland. And very, very cool.
And it's amazing they can track that too, because most families, I'd be like, I don't know anybody past my great grandparents. So it's amazing they have that family history too.
Yes, it is. So that is definitely interesting. So let's we're a hit. I think we're a hit. Our numbers are growing. People are watching the show. They are going to be listening to it. These eventually are going to be on the Bourbon Daily. I do get the audio files too, so I'm going to edit those and release those. I think this summer though. I think it'll be like a summer thing after the show ends, all 10 episodes. Then we'll release them on the Bourbon Daily, which will be kind of cool and fun.
Yeah.
We're tracking, and we're going to do this live on the show, continue to do it because we want the numbers to grow in terms of people following us. We literally started out at 0, and last week we were sitting at 127 when we did the episode. So 127 subscribers. I guessed we'd be to 160 by today. You guessed 175. Did you check and see where we're at today?
I haven't checked. No.
Oh, 163.
So you were close.
I win.
You win by Price is Right rules. You were under, so you win. You were also
I was under, yes, and closer. By any rules, I win. Price is Right. Sure. So that's kind of cool. I think we need to take a guess for next week. Now, the wild card here is as we do this. Now, it's supposed to happen tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Four Roses, like the first show that they did when Brent Elliott was on, and they put it in their newsletter, supposedly with a link you could click to. So I'm thinking we're going to get some decent activity on the site tomorrow. I think we're going to be up to 200 next week. What do you think, McNew?
Yeah, I'll say around 200 too. I think that's going to get us some traction. Then be up about 80. That's good.
Okay. We're in this one together then. We both say 200. Okay. Cool. All right. We'll see what happens. We'll check back in next week and see where we're at. So that would be a pretty nice growth in 1 week. So we'll see. Mm-hmm. As far as news and things like that, I scrapped our first story. Our first story was about this hamburger thing that people won, and I'm scrapping that.
No, Jackie, it sounded good though, Steve. There was a blueberry bourbon sauce.
Yes.
Arugula. It sounded great.
It didn't sound bad. I think it sounded like a worthy win for sure. And it would be a burger I'd make. This is a thing they had going on at Kroger, this burger contest for the week of the Kentucky Derby. Then they advertised in Kroger that this person wanted to share their recipe on cards you can get, and then of course they run a sale on all the ingredients so you can assemble these burgers together. It would be a cool contest to win for sure. Mm-hmm. Sounded neat. But I wanted to bump that for our first story, which is about Jackie's Icahn. Do you see where Jackie's Icahn is at right now? Have you been following that at all?
No, I haven't.
Okay, she's in Texas at King Ranch.
Oh,
King Ranch. Now, I'm going to blow your mind. I've never told anybody this before. The only people who know this that are living is my mom and myself. I don't think even my sister knows because my sister never pays any attention to anything. So she's always in her own world. But the King Ranch, that's my family. I'm related to the King Ranch. So the King family, my father's great uncle, he was a scholarly type, and he left St. Louis and went to Arizona, went to school, University of Arizona, and ended up getting a college degree. But he met this woman who was a King Ranch, an actual king from the King Ranch, family member. She was supposed to go to college and come back and do like accounting and stuff like that on the ranch. They fell in love, got married, and both stayed in Arizona, became teachers for the University of Arizona, lived their whole life there. And in around 1989, I think 88, my uncle passed, a great uncle, my father's great uncle passed away, and then his wife, his great aunt, passed away the year after that. So they're long gone, but they had actually left a little bit of money for my parents and stuff like that. But most of the money went to the University of Arizona. But my mom and dad told me the story of King Ranch. I had never known that. I never really talk about it or anything because I have no connection. People be like, well, that's cool, you're related. I mean, what can I do? Go down there and say I'm related? I have really no connection. It was through marriage in the family. But it's interesting, though. I hadn't thought about that for a long time until I saw her down there hanging out.
That's a cool story. And I think it goes to like that whole 6 degrees of separation. Like we're all intertwined in some way.
Yeah. So now I want to go down there. I didn't know you could just hang out down there. I want to go down there and hang out and get my little piece of King Ranch. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal. They have like Ford trucks that are branded King Ranch. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about it.
So like the Ford trucks, cool. Like giant.
Kind of a very, very cool thing. Yeah. Our next topic is, I saw that Bardstown Bourbon Company is going on the road this summer. They got like a trailer that they put together, and they're doing stops where it's a kind of a meet and greet thing. And you can actually, they've got a new bourbon collection called the Distillers Collection, and you can actually bottle a bottle, which I understand is kind of a hard one to get, but you can actually bottle that on this trailer, which is kind of cool. So you can get a little bit of a unicorn where you actually bottle it yourself. I think that's very cool. You know what I don't think is cool about it, McNew?
They're not coming to St. Louis, Steve.
They're not coming to St. Louis.
But they're coming to Indiana. Coming out with me.
Yeah, they're going to be there for 5 days in Indiana. They're going to be in Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, Washington, D.C., North Carolina, Ohio, Kentucky, Texas, Florida. I mean, they're driving by St. Louis at some of these places. Why not stop? They can stay at my house if that's an issue.
We're not interested in St. Louis.
Ridiculous.
It's a cute little trailer they have. I looked it up today. It's going to be really great for photo ops, and I think it'll be cool to bottle your own. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool too. But I'm protesting right now, so I'm not going.
You can go to Michigan and see Justine, Kentucky to see everybody, Indiana to see me, Steve. They don't have to cater to St. Louis.
They should. We would love to have them. So I'm just going to throw this out there now. If they want to contact me and they need, maybe they just didn't feel like they knew enough people, we can help them out. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
All right. McNew, you had a big week this past week. Tell us some of the stuff that you had going on for a third and final story
this week. So on Tuesday, I launched a new podcast called Bottle Kills and Lost Meals, where I kill a bottle that's been on my shelf too long, and I tell you about a death row inmate's last meal. They're real short. They take about 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, honestly. And they're kind of fun if you're into that.
Yeah, I listened. I can't say I'm necessarily into that, but it's a good show. And it's quick. Like I said, if you're interested in all, just listen. It was like 4 minutes, I think, for the show. So, and you throw in some good one-liners in there. And I even like your opening line, like, let's go.
And it's one of those things, I like to stack up podcasts and listen to them. Like, I like to binge them. So it's going to drop weekly. So if you want to wait a couple weeks and just stack them up, totally, that's fine.
Yeah, because you could stack them up and listen in like 20 minutes. That's like a month's worth of shows. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday was even better. Bernie Lovers was on Wine Time.
Yes. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, McNew has a show where she just complains about stuff, something that we all have to deal with if we know McNew, but now she has an outlet for this, for the show. And we did a bracket challenge on the Bourbon Daily where we had all these people from the bourbon industry. We said whoever won, we would actually ask. So Freddie was in there. We were, and it was such a random thing that when he won, I had to just reach out to Bernie. I'm like, do you want to come on Wine Time with McNew? It's a show where she complains about stuff. And I thought it'd be like a million questions. He was like, yeah, I'll do it. What the hell? I'm not scared.
Yeah.
He did it. It was great.
And he was great. And I was surprised because he's such like a positive person, but he had legit things to talk about.
That's what I thought too. I thought he's going to come on. He doesn't have anything to say. He was ripping right away on airline travel and stuff. So yeah, it was great.
Airports are a thing for him.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. So that was good. Yeah. And then I know Tim's on here too, and I know you guys are working on something kind of cool. Can we talk about that right now? Can we tease that a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah. Tim's kind of spearheading this. So if Tim wants to talk about it, jump on and let us know about Brothers Bourbon, what we're trying to work out there.
Yeah, so Brothers Bond Bourbon is just being released by two Hollywood actors, Ian Somerhalder and Paul Wesley. They have they've sourced their bourbon. They're just starting out launching a product that's released coming out here like anytime right now from pre-orders being sold. But Ian's agreed to schedule a date with us to do a specific tasting. The first one he's done with a bourbon group as well with the ABV network. So once we lock down a date and we get some product, that because everybody wants this product right now. Once we get that done, get those secured, we'll get something on the calendar, and McNew will take us through it. It'll be great.
Yeah, it's going to be on a Try It series. And those that don't know, they were the Vampire Diaries guys. So it's going to be a whole new genre of fans, I think, coming in for that.
I think so too. I never heard of it. Apparently it was a hit show for a long time, like 9 years.
I was obsessed with it.
I missed it for 9 years. I managed to dodge that thing, but yeah, apparently it's a big deal. Like they've got a huge fan base, so it's cool. Yeah, I noticed. And again, I'm not about. What's that? Was that Royce? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I'd never heard of it either, but Beck was like all excited about it. So
yeah, their fans are, and of course they got
not working right.
You're having a little internet problems there. Hopefully we can get that worked out. We'll have our IT tech person jump on that and help you out there. There she is.
I'll tell you what, if Becca Sue wouldn't get that hologram off there and get Royce out of the distillery and let the real Royce come sit in, I'm calling that a clone. I think that's a clone.
I think it is too.
Clone of Royce. That's why it was digitized.
I think so too. Well, McNew, that's the news for the week. So exciting stuff going on for sure. Our first guest, he never ceases to amaze me, his willingness to learn everything there is to know about distilling. I always say he doesn't have to, but he wants to, which is very cool. He's an all-around great guy, 8th generation distiller Jim Beam. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Freddie Noe. Hey, Freddie, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Glad to be here tonight.
Absolutely. I wanted to kick this thing off. I've got a question for you, and it's on the personal basis. So tell me a little bit about your athletic career. What type of athlete were you, like in high school and stuff? Were you good?
I wasn't bad. So I went to a pretty small school here in Bardstown. I played football for 3 years and played basketball for 2 years. I actually tore my ACL playing football my sophomore year, and that's why I never went back to basketball. But yeah, and then senior year I stepped away and just had fun. So, but yeah, I enjoyed playing sports. I love watching my kids play sport. Obviously, my daughter is well into sports now, but excited to see my son get into it because it was such a big part of my life.
What were you playing when you were playing football? What position?
It kind of makes people, if I say this at work, people will send my dad emails or texts and say, your son's so full of shit. He said he played quarterback in high school. Nobody believes it. It's so funny. And he's like, it's funny because I'll come back and I'm like, well, what did he say? Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I played football too. I didn't like it though. Once I liked playing street football growing up because it was fun. You get to be the quarterback, running back, you get to do a little bit of everything. On the football team, they put me on the offensive line. So, and it even got worse. I started out, I was a guard, which was okay. You get to be a little bit athletic there because they pull and you get to help the running back, out in the field and stuff. But then they put me at center and I guess I was good at it, but that was a terrible, terrible gig because you're hiking the ball and this guy's big fat guys plowing you over. So
my center, he always said he was the most athletic because he could snap me the ball and get his hands up to block before the guy got banged.
Yeah.
But you're the only one that knows when the ball's getting snapped. So it's not a big deal to me.
You bring up a good point.
Go back and forth with you on it.
Yeah.
I actually got a pretty funny one. In 8th grade, we were playing to go to the championship game against a much bigger school with a lot more kids. They probably had 3 times the kids on the team, and they were really good. I don't think they had lost since we were for 3 years straight. They hadn't lost a game.
Yeah.
My granddad, he wanted to see us succeed. He thought if I didn't get sacked, there was a pretty good chance that we could complete some passes, move the ball, maybe win this game. So he got me all the linemen to come over after practice one day, and he told them, he said, boys, if you keep Freddie from getting sacked in this game, I'll take all of you out for pizza and ice cream after the game.
That's
so,
cool.
He went to the game with Dad, and they're sitting there on the sideline. And I swear, first play of the game, drop back, boom, sacked. My dad looks over at him. He said, well, I'll give him one. And then he said, game goes on. And I think I ended up getting sacked 5 or 6 times in the first half. And after like 3 or 4, he said, all right, that's it. They don't get no damn pizza. That's enough. He gave them 2 or 3, but he was always trying to motivate me and then trying to motivate them. He thought he was going to bribe us to the championship.
That would have been pretty epic if that would have worked though. That would have been a hell of a part. Those guys would have still been talking about that.
It would have been a hell of a better story. Obviously,
yeah.
I think we got 40 something to 6 or something. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah. I once lost a basketball game. I was on a team that lost a basketball game, 85-3. If you can imagine that.
Wow.
85-3. I scored one of those points, Freddie. That's not bad. I counted for 1/3 of our offense.
I was going to say you were 1/3 of the offense. That's
yes. When you look at it, as you forecast ahead here, your daughter might far exceed what you've accomplished in your athletic career. The way it sounds. I mean, she's doing some good stuff, right?
Yeah, she's playing on a competitive soccer team in Louisville. She's and basketball. She's on a couple of teams there at school. They're getting into the middle school stuff now. But yeah, with soccer, she's pretty good. She's really getting into it. She loves it. And actually, I just got back from about 30 minutes before we got on. I got back from taking her to practice tonight. But yeah, so hopefully she does. She loves it, and I tell her it's a good place to blow off some steam. You blow it off to me or your mom, you're going to get grounded. That's what I tell her. You gotta. I think sports was always the place to kind of let some of that steam off. So you go let that steam off and you go home so you don't get grounded. She said, I think I don't. It's not like football, Daddy. You don't just get to hit people. I said, well, you can. It's practice. Coach probably your dad. You need to stop listening to your dad. He didn't know anything about soccer.
Right. I love that one video that Kay posted. It's of you and Booker, and you're showing them how to do, football stance. My gosh, it's so good because he's looking at you to see exactly how to do it right. And then when you move forward, he does. Gosh, that's a great. Yeah.
It's like his thing. When we go to Braley's soccer games, we've got to play football. We got to line up and tackle each other. It's like, because that's where we were. We were on the sideline of one of her games, and he gets bored, so I was running around with him, messing around. Right now, it's like a set thing. So I'm trying to get him in the trenches, get him on the defensive line. He can get rid of some of that steam too. When you're quarterback, you take a lot of the steam from the other guys.
True. Yeah.
So you gotta,
no doubt about that. So you've always got so much going on at Beam. What are you focused on right now? What's in your realm as we do and record this show?
Well, right now, so we're getting ready to ramp up commissioning of our new Freddie Noe distillery there on the Claremont campus. So most of the equipment is in place. We're working on the piping right now, and honestly waiting on a couple of things for our cistern room. So we'll do everything up through barrel fill right there in the craft distillery, and do some leak checks, some 24-hour leak check. Some of them right now we don't currently have the capacity to do. So really working on that commissioning plan is what I've been doing a lot lately. Speaking with the supervisors, the manager, and the operators, as that team's kind of starting to get together. A lot of that, and getting ready to start doing some development, to be honest. Actually picked out some barrels this week for a Little Book trial.
Oh, okay. All right. Now we're talking.
Little Book Chapter 6, running a barrel trial with a couple of different liquids. Going to do something a little bit different than we've done before, I think, on Chapter 6. I say that because it's still early enough that I could switch it up, but I'm thinking a little bit different, a little outside the box for this one. So we're going to run a trial with some barrels to see if my hypotheses takes us in the right direction, or if we got to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I'm drinking Chapter 4 tonight. So
nice. It's a good selection.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's my favorite series. The only series that I have to get the bottles from. So I always get at least one to drink, and I always get one to save too, because I want to save a vertical for as long as you're doing it. And so I've always got one, at least one in reserve. So it's cool.
Yeah, I'm anxious. Now that we're with the 5th one getting ready to come out this year, we've talked about internally doing some vertical tastings, maybe at the distillery when we open back up and stuff. So I'm excited to because I haven't really done that, side by side too often with each chapter. Usually I'm doing a deconstructed tasting if I'm kind of traveling and doing promotional stuff for that specific batch. Obviously last year for Chapter 4, I didn't do any travel because of the COVID situation, but generally I would only be speaking mainly about Chapter 4 and the components of it. Whereas with a vertical, we'll be able to talk about the components of each one and maybe how they compare and contrast. Hopefully you see that the kind of growth of the series as it's going.
Yeah. Oh, it's been so much fun. I enjoy and very much look forward to what's going on. Where's chapter 5 at now? Is it vatted? Is it bottled already? Where are we at here? As we're
actually still sitting in the barrel.
In barrels. Okay.
About to be dumped. Probably, I would say at the end of May, maybe early June, and then coming out of shutdown, we have our summer shutdown in July, where we shut the plant down, do a lot of routine maintenance. In the whole plant basically is down at one time for a month, and so then when we come back, it'll be the first thing out of the hopper coming out of the shutdown. So so I say it's final. We've got a system where I have to kind of say this liquid is final, but I always reserve a little bit of extra barrels so that when it comes down to it, as I say, it's aging another 3 months or so past my last final check-in. So I'll dump them, taste each component, and then go to, if I think it needs an adjustment, we may adjust before we blend, but we'll blend and then I'll taste. And then, like I say, I reserve a little bit of stock of each of the barrels typically to be able to make a final adjustment right before we dump, just in case there has been some shifting.
That's fascinating. You guys should do a documentary just on Little Book, just follow it along what happens. Like right now, if you were doing for 6, starting with what you're doing now, it's just
it'd be the perfect time. You've missed maybe you would have missed maybe 2 meetings that have been kind of critical, just really some brainstorming. And so I've got a group. I work with a product developer, and then I also work with Todd Smith, who is our apprentice blender.
Right.
Basically, he kind of looks over the quality of all of our ongoing products that are already on the shelf. But he was the product developer with me on chapter 1 of Little Book. And much like what you're saying, saving a bottle to be able to kind of reference, he's kind of like my whiskey library. So between he and I, we've both been on every Little Book project, every chapter. And so I like to bounce ideas off of him. We talk about, how it's kind of maybe progressed, where we want to take the next chapter, and we start to look at inventory and stuff. But yeah, I had a pretty good idea for chapter 6, and he thought it was a pretty good one. And we've got a new product developer on the team, and she actually did chapter 5 and is going to be doing chapter 6 with us. So I'm excited to see. There's a little bit more research we're going to do. We're going to do some experimentation here pretty quickly, and then we'll probably look to do some final laydown or final jogging of barrels probably late this fall, and get ready again, start doing some blending in the later part of the year, maybe November-ish, October-ish, November-ish, and then lock by. They say I've got to lock it by before the Thanksgiving break, but I like to, if they say that, I'm like, all right, I'm going to see what happens. So I could push a little bit past that. I've done it on a couple of them just to see what the pressure point is, but generally I play by the rules. Because they've kind of got a system. They know, you have to order labels in this amount of time. You have to get the label approval in this amount of time. So if you say when the bottle wants to go on shelf, they kind of have a thing that kind of backs.
They back into it. Yeah. Makes sense.
So I like to mess around with them because it's so structured. I hate being so structured. I like to have a little more freedom. So.
No, I would guess that, if I asked you, you wouldn't think that stuff is fascinating at all. It's just part of your job. I'm telling you, the whiskey geeks, this is what we want to know. The process, what's behind the scenes, all that stuff that goes into that bottle that we're going to be drinking. To me, I want to know everything. So I would love to.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
Like we did for the Blending is Trending documentary. Essentially, that's a lot of what I do when we start thinking about Little Book. If there's maybe a couple of liquid streams, like, I grabbed a couple off the bench there and just kind of did some blending. But, say one of those caught my eye, I would say, okay, Todd, how much inventory do we have of this? What's some ages? Where's it sitting? Find something maybe that I like, maybe warehouses that I like, floor location. We'll pull them out and get some proofs of each of them, start to taste, and then maybe do some preliminary blending if there's more than one that we've already earmarked. And then just kind of roll on from there. And the big thing, you've probably heard me say it a lot, is I like to let the whiskey do the talking. So that's why I don't like those timelines, because if you're working on a complex project, and you're letting the whiskey do the talking, and the final product is always, you know, determined by how, you know, making sure you put your best foot forward. That timeline doesn't that whiskey doesn't care about that timeline, you know. So luckily we you know, we work pretty diligently and get within those timelines, but there probably will come a day, I hope, because it would mean we're really stretching our imagination and kind of stretching the innovation, that we do have to kind of push on that timeline if we're working on something that's kind of way far out, maybe.
Yeah. If you watch Blending is Trending, that's like 8 minutes of screen time when you're in the lab there. There is not a cut in that. That's handheld camera, go, and you just, we see it real time exactly how you do that blend, which is unbelievable. And it was fantastic. Bo and I were ready to buy, each wanted to buy a bottle of it. You wouldn't sell it to us, but we were trying. It was really good. Yeah.
We might have to go back and make a recreation of it and see what we can do again.
See what we can do. Yeah. You gotta, but yeah, you gotta watch that and then just realize that is literally, you know, go. And then we didn't know, we thought we might start and stop 10 times during that. But Freddie just went and did a great job. So it was really, really cool. And I love the way we were able to put it in
element there. You know, once you kind of get in the groove or you're in your element, you know, I had been working on Little Book. Obviously we started that day off with a toast of Little Book. What was that? Chapter 3? I think it, or was it? Yeah, I think it was 3. It might have been 4. No, it was 3. It was 3. It was 3. Just finalized the blending for chapter 3, I believe. So it was, you know, I was kind of hot out of the lab. So you guys caught it at the perfect time. And like you said, we just kind of flowed right through it. And y'all were like, wow, that was great. I'm like, you guys say so. We'll move on. We can do it again if we need to. It was good whiskey though. That's what I was surprised. I thought, hell, we'll do this blend and it won't taste worth a shit. But
no, it was great. Yeah. You know, I on the top of the show, we had that segment where I was talking about, you know, I was mad somebody was ignoring St. Louis. You guys don't ignore St. Louis, which I love that much. And especially with your Little Book. I have no idea. Remember the first time you went out to support Little Book 1, you came to St. Louis first. That was where you did your first live thing. And matter of fact, we got this before anybody else. I had this before Kentucky. My friends in Kentucky, I got this in St. Louis before them. It was the first place it dropped last year. So, you know, I don't know why the focus is St. Louis, but I thank you for that, man.
Luck of the draw, I guess. I mean, you know, I've got a lot of good buddies on the sales team in St. Louis and some support team for the sales team. So, you know, when they reach out, it's pretty quick to get things set up as long as it's nothing outlandish. I actually just did one last night with the St. Louis Bourbon Society again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
With Steve Coombs and some fellows from Sam Edwards from Edwards Hams in Virginia. So it was actually pretty good. But yeah, I love St. Louis. That was, like you said, that was one of the first stops. Actually was the first stop.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah. Out of Kentucky, went straight there. Had a great dinner at the Gamblin Whiskey House and did a deconstruction of chapter 1. It was pretty good.
Yeah. A whole lot of fun. You and I
think food and good company, you know.
It's not bad, right?
Easy. I heard you talking about Bernie and whining about airplane travel. I could get on there and complain a lot about the airplanes. I could promise you that.
You can come on anytime, Freddie.
McNew will book you right now.
An outlet to complain to. I need an outlet to complain to.
Well, she's got it for you for sure. Well, definitely. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about the family again. And, you know, your children, obviously Braley is kind of old enough where she may start talking a little bit about what she wants to do in the future. Is there any talk about, does she ever mention the distillery or anything? Or is she still, you know, looking at other things?
Still pretty quiet about it. I just messed with her. Actually last night I said, you want to come sit in on my Zoom? And she said, what are we doing? And I said, well, I'm going to be talking about whiskey. No. It was you know, it was late at night, you know, about like tonight. So I won't blame her. I wouldn't want her sitting up here falling asleep listening to me.
Right.
You know, Kay always.
Danny did that to me once here. Danny, raise your hand. He fell asleep and was snoring on one of my sessions. Yeah. I'm not kidding you. We have this meeting going on.
I've been known to fall asleep.
That wasn't Danny. That was Freddie.
I've been known to fall asleep with my buddies.
Yeah.
Playing Xbox late at night. Sometimes they'll get me on there and I'll be sitting there playing and, you know, it'll be loading or something and I'll just fall asleep. I hit that chair, man. It's over. I run all day. When I sit down, it's over.
Yeah. So, and obviously Booker too young to weigh in on any of that stuff. But do you try what is as a father of, as the eighth generation, what type of things are you doing to maybe get his interest down the road in the distillery even at this age?
I like, same deal like what you see with running and having fun at Braley soccer games. I try to, if they're down there with me at the plant, make it fun, do something that I did as a kid that was fun. We do a lot of fishing when they visit, stuff like that to make it a fun place. So when you get older, you think about those times. To be honest, I will lean a lot on Dad to start to do that because, I had such a connection with my grandfather. That's what drew me to the distillery was that connection with him at the facility. So, as they start to get a little more interested in it, I'll look for my dad to be the one to kind of take them down there, hopefully show them around, they'd rather listen to him probably than me anyway. So I'll let him do that. But, really, as I've said before, a lot when people ask, it's about having it there and available when they're ready for it or when they want to do it. If Braley walked in the door right now and said, I want to go see the distillery, I seen something online or whatever, I want to go see that, I'd get in the truck right now and drive her down there,
Yeah.
But again, I'll ask her from time to time, and if she says no, I'll just go on. It's not no skin off my back. It'll be there for many, many years. I guess a lot of it is just don't get anxious that, like if she's not totally interested. She does ask questions from time to time, so I think she does got some interest in it. But I just remember being that young. I wanted to care, but you didn't know what the hell you're even thinking about. You know what I mean?
Right.
You really think about it. You don't know what making whiskey, or what that actually is. You don't know how much people drink, how much product is sold, or where is it only in Kentucky, stuff like that. So that was a lot of it for me, and I'm sure it's the same for her. Is she probably has an interest, but is probably scared to ask stupid questions because you kind of feel like you should know stuff. But
right.
Once I started asking questions, I never stopped. So I guess I'll have to maybe get into her brain to say that it's really no stupid question. It's all new. It's kind of like what you said earlier. You had to start with 0 followers or 0 subscribers. You don't get to start with 200 or whatever. Everywhere it starts with 0. So your knowledge base is the same way. So there is no such thing as a dumb question. But that's pretty much it for me. It's about that kind of thing. Just having it available for them when they want to be a part of it. And try to make more, like the milestone barrel fills, the 15 million, 16 million barrel. I make her go to that, not that she doesn't complain to go, but if she was to ever say, no, I don't want to go, I'd still make her because she'll look back and wish she was a part of it if she wasn't,
Yeah. Your wife, Kay, I know you guys were recently having some fun, trying some different things. Is she a bourbon fan? Is she becoming more of a bourbon fan? Where's she at in her journey?
I mean, she's always been a bourbon drinker. When we met, she drank Jim Beam White, and it was her favorite drink. She loves bourbon. She's gotten more into cocktails in the last couple of years, mainly the last year, more so. I've been making some as well, but she's always been into bourbon. It's just getting the time to sit down and us be able to talk about it, or I guess more so my fault of me wanting to continue to talk about it when it's time to sit in that chair. So I shot you a couple photos a couple of nights.
You're right.
Doing some tasting, and I make sometimes when I'm cooking, I'll make cocktails. If I pick up some different ingredients or something, see something that sticks out. But she's loving it. She loves tasting different stuff. So I bring home a lot of samples from work and make her try. Sometimes she gets to know what it is. Other times I try to like blindly prompt her with a couple of things to see how it compares in her head. She's kind of like my test subject. So she loves it.
You were telling me that you've gone back to the early family property and you got to see where Jacob Beam was originally distilling in the cave and all that. Is there a connection you feel when you go back there to your family heritage and things like that, or what's it like?
Absolutely, instantly for me. You start looking around and you can just you don't really know exactly where he had everything set up, but there's a little kind of like a cellar a cave cellar that's kind of cut out the side of a hill. You know, that's where he was storing his whiskey. I mean, you can almost see it, how it's laid out, right? And where the well is, you can kind of start to picture where he probably had his mashing tubs and such, and probably the mill as well, based on how the creek flows. So, you know, again, we don't have any idea exactly how it was laid out, but just being there and letting my brain kind of go through that stuff and try to figure it out, I enjoy the hell out of it. And then, you know, it almost gives me goosebumps just to, you know, because what would Jacob think? That's what I think about a lot of. He come to Kentucky on a grant from his uncle, you know, to get out of Maryland. His dad, Jacob's dad, passed when he was 6 years old. He was, you know, only 29, his dad was. So probably thought, hey, I want to go set up roots for my family. I've grown up here on my uncle's farm working, and this is an opportunity for me to kind of, you know, establishing a family name and honor was so important at that time. You know, people lose track of what was important. You know, wasn't a lot going on back then. So your word and your honor, that meant everything. You know, that if you didn't have that, you didn't have nothing back then. So just to think that Jacob was coming here on that opportunity to kind of establish a name for Beam, you know, establish an integrity and an honor, and to know that what it turned into, you know, a big feat in the bourbon industry, and a lot of tentacles that go across many distilleries, not just our family, you know, namesake, but quite a few distillers from Jacob's, you know, Jacob's descendants. You know, a large number have been involved in the industry, not just making, you know, some have owned liquor stores. There's just a lot to tie to Jacob. And so I just kind of think a lot especially after going down there and the time after that is,
Yeah.
What would he think knowing that he came here probably just trying to survive and set up a place for his family to have a farm, not be, you know, his uncle's farm for his kids to work on. And to think that it turned into you know, that the art of distilling that most farmers did do at that time turned into something that the family's kind of hung our hats on for 226 years now. Crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy to think about. So, Freddie, and I mean, this isn't even a distillery or bourbon industry thing or anything like that, but I think by the time you get to Generation 8, for the most part, the mantra is just don't screw it up. Keep things going. But when I see you, I don't see that. I see as a guy like, let's blow this thing up. How big can we make this thing? And I think it's such a credit to the things that you're doing. I think it's just amazing, you know, how you push yourself and you learn all these different facets, and you're coming up with all these ideas and your nonstop energy. It's really a cool thing to watch, my friend.
I appreciate that, Steve. You know, you're right. You think that's a lot of it is you kind of got to watch over things. You don't want to mess it up. But when you look back at the history, you know, just that little story there I told about Jacob, I want to amplify that. And how we do that is through selling whiskey. You know, that's what our family has been known for. So by, you know, depthening or widening our portfolio, I think is a great thing. Depth, or, you know, getting more width in where we sell the whiskey to be able to tell that story is extremely important as well. That, you know, that's kind of what I've set part of my legacy to be, you know, is amplify the people that have came before me, because without them, I sure as hell probably wouldn't be sitting here having the opportunity to use my creativity. You know, I'm very lucky that I have a very creative mind, and to your point, I really get ambitious about doing things in the distillery. So it kind of clicks for me. You know, I'm sure in the past, a lot of them were doing just that, keeping the thing going, you know, or trying and maybe stumbling upon ideas. But if it wasn't for all of them keeping to making bourbon or making Jim Beam, or at that time back then making Old Tub, you know, and keeping that the name on the door, you know, that high quality mark, you wouldn't be able to have the things like Booker's and Baker's and Small Batch or Little Book, or things like coming up, like stuff like Hardin's Creek that I've been working on, or some other releases. So to me, it's about amplifying those people because they've had such a prominent spot in the industry. You know, I said it last night.
Yeah,
We're talking about small batch bourbon. And it's crazy. It all started with my granddad coming up with Booker's and then a small collection. And now you go to every restaurant in America, it probably says small batch bourbon on there.
Yeah.
Segment essentially started with just 4 whiskeys that were meant to educate consumers on the differences that American bourbon can have for people and the flavor that was there. So And that's what I love about these opportunities. So whenever I have the chance to come on shows like this or Zooms or any of that, it's about kind of amplifying some of those stories from the past and talking about the people that have helped bring this whole industry along from my perspective,
Yeah. Last question I've got for you, and then we'll take a break. We'll bring Royce in. I want to talk to him, and then I think the three of us will kind of get together and talk about some of the fun stuff we do and just why we're friends and stuff like that. That'll be good. But the last question I got for you, I mean, you love bourbon, you're a family guy. Anything else that we don't know about you that you like to do outside of family stuff and bourbon stuff?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you. I like to tinker with things. So last year, my travel was limited. I was around the house a lot more. I built a little raised bed garden behind the man cave here where I'm sitting. So I've started to tinker with gardening. So this year I started from seeds on a lot of things like tomatoes and cabbage, stuff like that. And then obviously I'll plant some other things that go straight in the garden. So, my tinkering doesn't stop in the distillery. I'm always cooking. That's a big thing for me too. So I'd probably say people wouldn't probably know that I like to garden, or I picked up gardening, I would say, but definitely the cooking piece. I enjoy that. I enjoy the end result. I like to eat. So I like to cook on the smoker, grill out, it all goes together with bourbon. It's about having a good time, so.
Yeah. I feel like you're a natural for it. Between your grandfather, your father, these are things that, it makes sense that you'd be into too. So that's cool. Very cool. Well, Freddie, thanks so much, man. We'll have you stick around here and we'll talk to you more in a little bit. Okay.
Appreciate it, Steve.
All right. What we'll do next. Thank you. Thank you. He's a great guy for Freddie Noe, for sure. What we'll do next, McNew, we'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk to Royce Neeley. We'll do that in just a few, folks.
Perfect. Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network shop. Head over to abvnetwork.com and click on the shop button and pick up our ultra soft ABV Network hoodie for 20% off today, only by using the coupon code TALKSHOW at checkout. We are also sponsored by Moonshine University. Moonshine University offers programs to assist individuals in the bourbon industry or simply fans wanting to step up their knowledge. Whether you are looking for in-person training at the classrooms of Moonshine University or looking for self-study online, there are options to fit your unique needs. Check them out at moonshineuniversity.com.
Yeah, very cool. Those you've got one of those t-shirt hoodies, right? Those are great, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like my favorite hoodie. It's so good.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So comfy.
My mom got one of those too. She says it's her favorite too. So yeah. So get them at 20% off. So today only. So folks, get out there and check them out. They're cool stuff. Justine here will pack that up and send out to you. And you always get a bonus too. There's always something extra in there. And we've got some cool new stickers and stuff like that are the bonus free gifts that'll come with it. So yeah, check it out.
I get excited when I get stickers I didn't know were coming. It's
yeah.
Yeah, it's like a surprise.
So is the hoodie, is it a pullover or is it a zip up?
It's a pullover.
Pullover, yes. Mm-hmm. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Danny?
Bad thing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. These are live. I wish you'd have fallen asleep. You know what? I wish you'd have fallen asleep before that ad, so we wouldn't have had that happen to us right there. That's humiliating.
If you're like me and you don't like t-shirts touching your neck, you can always cut it. It's still super soft, still super comfy. You can cut it.
Danny, just tell it. Yeah, tell it like it is, Danny. Don't sugarcoat it at all for us.
If Danny orders one, ship it to me. I'll customize it and make it good for him. Okay.
All right, sounds great.
He needs a custom one.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me introduce now our second guest. He's an 11th generation distiller, but the first person in the family to be doing it legally. It's been a crazy year for this guy. Listen to this, McNew. In the last 12 months, he expanded his distillery, doubling the visitor center size. He got a new still, which is an amazing thing if you haven't seen that. He's had a whirlwind romance leading to him getting married to the lovely Miss Becca Sue from the ABV Network. He's lived in a hotel for the year. He's building a house. He got out of the whiskey business for a while. They had to do hand sanitizer business. He bought his second distillery. I mean, he's currently launching a new absinthe brand. Is that enough? I mean, crazy stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Royce Neeley.
You see them and it's like, when do they actually sleep? Like, you just bark all the time. Like, what's happening?
I know.
I think I've been going for like 30 days straight now. So
yeah.
I pretty much go to Vegas and then come back and work until I go to Vegas again. And then I've kind of been doing that now for like the last 10 months. So
Yeah.
only way I stay sane.
Yeah. And then I always call them and I got some idea, some crazy thing we're working on. So we're like, oh, well, we'll do that next. Or yeah, or we're partnering up with Lenny for a project. So yeah, we got all kinds of things going on. So yeah, cool stuff. So Royce, all that being said, where are we at with the new distillery? We talked about that, and how close are we to having that new place open up?
So I was just down there again the other day. We were very lucky, very blessed. You guys know the mountains got hit really bad with flooding. It missed us, so we're fine. So I still think I kind of had to pull the reins back a little bit to get more things done on the home front here at the distillery that we're on. We're expanding the bottling room and some raw material storage and getting the second stripping still and cooker online and the new boiler online. But I think the old man is planning on going back down there in the next week, the week and a half with his full construction crew, and they're going to just go on and knock it the rest of the way out. Okay. So I think we're within, by the time they get down there landed, I think we're 30 days out from having it ready to go.
So are we talking a grand opening party? Is there something I can have an excuse to go out there and hang out for a little bit?
We will. We'll do a full grand opening just like we did when we opened this distillery.
Okay.
That's the plan anyways.
Yeah. So, and what's going on at the flagship distillery right now? I talked about all those things. Anything else of note?
Yeah. So, we dropped in the 500-gallon copper Vendome. We also just dropped in another 600-gallon stainless steel, stripping steel, pot steel. We got the line arm hooked up on it last week. Now all I'm waiting on is to get the spirit safes welded up and online, and we're ready to start doubling production on that. So that's going to effectively allow us, which it's kind of funny, hard to follow Freddie Noe. I mean, just in general, but it's untelling what Freddie and them make in a day. We're just happy to try to be able to make 4 barrels a day. That's kind of like it's a staple for us. We think when we get this other still online and the other cooker going, as long as we control the fermentations the right way, we're going to be able to push 4 barrels a day, which is kind of a big deal for us. So.
Yeah, well, that's quite a step up. So that's very cool. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit, because the plan was never to open up this distillery. The plan was that 10 generations was going to be it, and there wasn't going to be an 11th generation. But you, as a young man, and I'm talking as a kid even, you were into this idea of your family history and distilling. Why did that capture you so much? Why did that interest you even as a child?
Man, so we'd always go back down to the mountains for Christmas and Easter and mainly holidays. We'd go back down there because my mother's side of the family was up here with us. So we, spent a lot of time with them. But for holidays, a lot of times we'd go back down to the mountains, and I get to see the family and hang out with my grandfather. And they would take me over. Kind of funny now to think about it. But, one of the things we've done when we went back is we go over to you met him, Akley, my second cousin, Bill Hall. I think he's like 88 now. We go over to his still site. I mean, Bill's had it continuously running still for the last 50 years. So, we go over there and hang out at the still site. And, even as a young kid, the smells, and I can remember being in the barn and playing around there. And I just got into it from that. And as I started to get older, Dad started explaining to me, this gun means so much to the family, and, what our history was and how proud he was and everything that the family had done. I just got really addicted to it. And when I got into college, and the plan never was for me to go into the alcohol industry, and my dad never dreamed we would ever be taking anything of it legal. He just loved the fact that the history was being preserved. He liked the realist way that the family history has always been presented, and he loved the fact that we were really lucky that my grandfather, my great grandfather, they kept all the news articles, they kept the old steels, they kept the guns. I mean, they wanted the history preserved, and that's why they passed it on, and it didn't get lost. There's a lot of families out there just like mine that have been distilling in the United States since they came over. I mean, a lot of families out there. The problem is a lot of that stuff, that history got lost over time, and I was lucky that ours didn't. And
you run into that now.
Into college,
right, Royce. Let's talk a little bit about it, because so many times you will buy a still and you're like, this was like their great grandfather's still, and they're selling it to me on on eBay or whatever it is, and it's offensive to you, but at the same time you buy it because you're like, you want to make sure and you display it at your distillery, but it's almost like offensive. Why would you sell a piece of your family history? Why would a couple $100 lead you to give away something that was so important in that family's life?
Yeah, and I'm a big, this Akley about me, but I'm a big gun guy too. And I've never understood how you can take your grandpa's gun that he took to, come back from World War II with or something, and sell it at the 127 yard sale to me for $500. I mean, it's just astonishing to me. Stuff like that blows my mind. My family's possessions have always meant more to me than that. And I think that's something that the old man is instilled in me at a young age. And that's why those family heirlooms get passed on to me. So it's always meant a lot to me. And the way I looked at it is when I buy these stills, I mean, if you're stupid enough to sell me your grandpa's still, hey, I'm glad I get to get it. At least I'm going to take care of it and put it up where it needs to be at. If you're that dumb to do that, then at least it's going to be put somewhere where it's cherished and took care of. So, I mean, like I said, those things, I've got a pistol. You guys have all seen it, huh? Am I breaking up?
No, you're fine. You're okay. Keep going, man.
Oh, okay. I mean, I've got a pistol. You guys have all seen it. Old Brownie. I would literally starve to death before I ever sold that gun. That's how much it means to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think all that kind of got instilled in me at a young age, and I grew up around it. And
yeah, $1 million. I'll give you $1 million for the pistol and your grandfather's still. No, you're fine. Actually, I can hear you. I think you're having a hard time hearing us for some reason. Okay. We got IT on there. At this point, we turn over to Justine. She does her comedy routine during these down times.
But anyways, what was you saying, Akley? What do you got? $1 million?
I got $1 million. All I want is the pistol and your grandfather's still. $1 million.
Yeah. Papa will probably shoot your ass for coming down there and saying that at the distillery.
Probably even saying it, huh? I would even, darn it. Well, I guess that's not happening. I don't have $1 million, by the way, so we don't have to worry about that. So, Royce, I want to talk to you a little bit about your Uncle Bones, because I don't think that your Uncle Bones gets credit for you doing the things that you're doing right now, but he actually does play a big role in that, because he's a big part of the family history. He's a good storyteller. He's a fun guy to be around. And even though when your father and your mother didn't want you to get into the business, Uncle Bones was always continuing to fill your head with those stories and kind of kept your interest there, right?
Man, the only way to put it is Uncle Bones, I call him Unc. He's always been just a straight outlaw. I mean, he's as Neeley gets. And my dad's, he's one of them guys. If he ain't doing something illegal, by God, he ain't happy. And, I got a little bit of him in me, definitely. And he, like I said, straight Neeley. And he's always been there kind of pushing me the whole time. But, when I went to my dad kind of about the distilling stuff, he kind of blew me off a little bit. I think he knew what I was trying to do. Shit, Uncle Bones was full in with me the whole time. Hell, he was bootlegging my moonshine illegally back home. And he comes up there and buys it legally just to take it down to where he's at and bootleg it out. Because like I said, if he ain't doing something illegal, he just don't feel right. And like you said, great storyteller. Shit, for God's sakes, the man was on probation at age 12 for running moonshine and bootlegging for a year. At age 12.
At 12.
At age 12. Yeah, he's got, there's all the stories and stuff, but he's really got more stories than the Bible. I mean, shit, he got about half lit at the distillery the other day and was telling me he would go out and pack this beer in from up in the mountains in the middle of the night. My grandpa would make him go get it. And when he would love to do it because he could take some of it and throw it up into the woods. Right. So then on the weekends, he would have these older girls come pick him up because he couldn't drive, and he'd get the beer out of the woods and then run off with it. So that's how he kept the beer and everything for them to go party on the weekends. He's like 13,
13, huh?
Yeah. He's a character, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Sounds like he was violating his probation there.
Yeah, he's violating his probation.
Yeah. He's a character. So if you ever see Uncle Bones there, yeah. Order yourself a cocktail and then sit down to the next Uncle Bones and just let him tell stories. It's great.
He was saying, kind of funny, Akley. I can't remember if you were there the other day when he was talking about that or not, but he said, hell, the Neelys never needed a family reunion. We had that about once every 6 months at the county jail.
Yeah, well, he's also noted he's a ladies' man. He's married now, so he's off the market. But for years, he was your single uncle, and he loved hanging out with you, and coming to college and stuff like that, and hanging out with with the college girls. Yeah, so he's a character. Yeah. You guys going down to Key West? Those are epic stories, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So talk to us about this absinthe thing that you got going now. So you're getting into absinthe. It's new for you. I know you have to do a lot of experimenting. You haven't done that before. Talk to us about where you're at on coming out with your new absinthe line.
Yeah, so I've always been, really interested in absinthe. I liked it. I liked drinking it even before I got the distillery open. And I was always kind of interested in it, and I still am, of being able to use like a hemp in there in place of wormwood later on and make it this Kentucky style absinthe type of deal. But that's kind of what got me thinking about it. And last year, kind of towards the end of the year, I sat down and I said, I'm getting in this comfort zone. I feel like I'm getting a little complacent with my distilling and what I'm doing, and I want to force myself out of my comfort zone and try to make some different spirits. And actually, it happened when I was trying Lenny's apple brandy. I was like, damn, man, Lenny is making a killer apple brandy. I want to try to do something like that. I want to kind of expand the portfolio of what we're doing and kind of try to improve myself as a distiller. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take the jump and we're going to start working on this absinthe. I've got a still that's ready to do it. And I bought this really cool book. It's from 1871 out of Switzerland. It's got a bunch of different absinthe recipes in it. And I took those recipes. I think I've made a total of around 16 or 17 of them now. And, it's been a really cool project to work on. I actually submitted one in. We've got a recipe down that I think is close to where we want to be at to release the first Verde, the first green absinthe. And I actually submitted it to the San Francisco World Spirits Competition a couple weeks ago. So we'll see what it does down there. But pretty excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, another cool dynamic to your family and what you've got going on at Neeley Family Distillery is your father. I say he's almost like a superpower. Literally, he turns you into superhero because he can build anything. You come up with an expansion idea. He can do all that. I mean, what a difference he makes for you being, Neeley Family Distillery, what you have today.
Yeah. My dad, he's always been a role model for me. I've always said this, he's the biggest X factor at that distillery. Besides the fact that he was successful enough with his own business to be able to fund that one there and help me with my dream to where we didn't have to take on any investors, anybody else. We could own 100% of that company and be able to grow it into what it is today. I could have never done that without him. One of the ways we were able to do that is I told you, he shot every screw, drove every nail in that distillery. Shit, he's building mine and Becca's house right now. He's been up there painting. He been painting for 8 hours a day for the last 4 days straight, quarantined because he thinks he has COVID up there. So he's just up there painting. That's just who my dad is. He's the hardest working guy I've ever been around. He's incredibly smart, very savvy businessman. I always tell people he's one of them guys, you can put my dad on a rock out in the middle of nowhere and he could still make money because eventually somebody walked by his ass and he get a hold of him. That's just the kind of businessman my dad is. And I learned a lot from him. And he really is my role model.
I got a couple guys, friends that are contractors, and the problem with those guys is, they come in and they're incredibly talented and they get bigger. But what happens is then they want to be the boss. They want to grow the business where they don't actually have to do any of the work anymore. But your dad never quit doing the work. He was always on the roofs, pounding in nails. He wouldn't even use a nail gun when putting in a roof. And he would point out to you, this is a roof I put on, 23 years ago. And there's a roof that was put on 10 years ago using those nail guns. It doesn't work as well. He was a guy who just worked hard and that's what made him, and that's what made the difference. He never was just the boss. He was always a guy who was hands-on.
He leads from the front, and he's always, and him and I butt heads on that a little bit now, but he's always been that guy. He, like I said, he works his ass off. He's up on, last year he's 55 years old. And he's slinging, packing up 2 bundles of shingles up a ladder, which, it keeps him stout and, has made him a man. But, he up there beating, it's 110 degrees on that roof. And there he is working his ass off, sweating up on that roof. And doing it all summer long. And he's been doing that. I started working with my dad when I think I was, 10 years old, helping him on the job site. Mm-hmm. He's always been like that.
Yeah. So it has to be rewarding to you. I mean, in reality, you're 25 years old when the distillery opens. You need your dad to help you out and your mom to help you out with, the funding. And they're taking a real chance. I mean, they could set up a situation where your dad's going to be 80 years old on top of roofs, if this thing doesn't work out, but it does. And the exciting news is your dad has been able to retire in the last year at age 55, and he doesn't have to crawl up on roofs anymore unless he wants to help out families projects and stuff like that with you, right? How cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, and you and I have talked about this, Akley, but I mean, it's the proudest thing
Right.
that I've ever been able to do, which is, him and I had sat down and we had a plan, and he told me, son, I don't think I'm going to be able to retire till 65. I've got a much
Right.
younger brother and sister. There's 4 of us, and he's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to retire until 65. And I said, look, we'll do this distillery, and I think I can get you off them roofs in 5 years. And damn it, I've done it in 2.5, and that's a big deal for me. So I'm pretty proud of that.
That is a big deal, man. That is a big deal,
Yeah,
brother.
I'm pretty proud of that. So
That is really cool.
it's a cool
Very,
thing.
very cool. Yeah. As you heard Freddie talking about, going back to Jacob Beam's place and the connection that he feels as you start a company, and you're still at the beginning of your company, but you think, 225 years from today, 22, 26, there'll be some Akley interviewing a Neeley, and they're going to be talking about that Royce Neeley starting out and, the connection they have when they walk through those distillery doors, which, their great grandfather built and his son ran the thing. And it's crazy, right?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty mind boggling, really, to think about it. And I mean, we're not even remotely even 1,000th of a percentage of where Jim Beam is. And, our business can still go under, and, things happen and stuff like that. But, we work at it every day to try to, for us, the goal has always been to continue on that family legacy on the legal side. So, we're hoping to see that continue on down the road. And I know that's always been the all in thing from my dad. You know that from talking with him, Steve. I mean, he's so proud of the family, the history, and the fact that we're legal now. And it's something that everybody on all our family in the mountains can be proud of.
Yeah.
Instead of them
There's a
talking
lot
about,
of us proud of you, man.
spending time in jail and killing this guy and that guy being killed, that, instead of all that stuff being talked about, now we can talk about the fact that we're, hanging double golds up from San Francisco and things like that. So it's a big deal.
It's not bad. Well, Royce, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on the Bourbon Talk Show, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Let's bring Freddie back, and I just want to talk a little bit about the friendship of the three of us, because I think I got this figured out, guys.
Hold on. Before we go in there, Steve, I got one comment to Royce. You asked me, how I want to keep the tradition going.
Yeah.
For my kids, how do you inspire it? I'm gonna tell you what, you tell your kids and your grandkids that story of you helping your dad retire, you'll inspire quite a few generations coming after you, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
story.
I appreciate that, Freddie. Thank you.
It's one of the coolest things I've ever heard, to be able to help your dad like that from a backbreaking job. Oh, it's a cool thing for sure. And I know you guys love each other, but sometimes you butt heads at the distillery. This happens. You guys are, running a business. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of things. It's great, man. I'm so envious of you and being able to work with your dad every day like that. It's a cool thing. So yeah. But the trio, we got together recently and hung out and talked. And I figured out why we're such good friends, the three of us. And the reason for that is because in your life, you can't talk about bourbon all the time. But for us, that's kind of what we want to talk about all the time. And the history and the people and the brands and all strategy and new products. And when we get together, we can talk about that as much as we want. We hung out, Freddie drank at your place, tried some items, talking about all history and just different. It was all over the place. We're talking about the people of bourbon, history, Old Crow. We're talking, old brands. We're doing all this crazy stuff. And then we go to lunch. We talk about it all the time. We come back, we talk about it some more. And, you just don't, the friends that you grew up with in that, they have an interest in what you do, but they don't want to hear about it all the time. When we get together, we can talk about it full time. So it's kind of a cool thing.
It's pretty cool. The sucky part about it is, we start talking, we tell some stories on history, or, Royce is talking about something that he's, teaching me a little bit about a history lesson of some kind of distilling. And my brain just starts kind of, going. I want to go
right,
writing shit down. I'm like, hell, we're just sitting here shooting the shit. I can't get a notebook out and start, working, you know? So that's the toughest part is when we talk, my brain starts going crazy about things that we could try or things I want to look up on the internet and read more about or make a connection to things, you know, because that's a lot of it when you're leading with the art of distilling, as I like to say, what I like to do. The science comes kind of second. So when you lead with the art, there's a lot of unknown that comes, you know, you just try to replicate things. And so in hearing those types of things, going back and researching and trying to make connections or how you could maybe redistill something that was similar to something in the past, my brain goes crazy. So getting together with you guys is great because it's great. And like I say, I feel like I miss out on part of the conversation because my brain's trying to spin on its own in the background, but I want to be a part of the conversation too. I get like in between places.
I think all three of us are also the same. You know, we're probably for the most part, we never feel like we're swimming. We're always sinking because we have all these things going on. I have so much with the ABV network. Beam has a million things going on. Royce is, you know, we just talked about all the stuff he's got going on. But you know what? I actually think that's the way I need it. I can't be just, okay, I got a project, I'll get that done, and then I'll look at what I can do. I got to have a million things going on. And that's the way I work best. And Freddie, I clearly see that in you. And Royce, you're the same way too. Well,
I've always been I've always been a firm believer, Steve. You know, you're a product of definitely the top 5 people you surround yourself with. And when you surround yourself around great people, it helps you keep up, you know, what you're doing in general. So like you were saying, Freddie, I mean, I'm doing the same thing. We're sitting up there talking, and now I'm listening to you talk about, you know, what kind of finishing and stuff you guys are about to do on the next Basil Hayden and things like that. And I'm like, man, you know, this is cool. I'm trying to work over there as well. And then we're sitting there talking, Akley, the last time, and damn it, there's that Donna jug over there. I mean, Freddie's got a 50-gallon damn Beam Donna jug over there that I want to swap.
That's an old one too. That one's from like 19. I think Baker said they got that one made like 1940-ish. So that was a pretty damn old one. Yeah. And just, you know, going around to your house, Freddie, for Royce and I are elbowing each other as you're showing us this stuff. You know, this is where, you know, my grandfather's smokehouse was. These are a couple of jugs, the last wine that he ever made. We're not going to open it up. We're not going to drink it or anything. That's just going to stay here. And it's like, holy cow. You know, this is unbelievable, the stuff that we're seeing. It was the greatest day ever, wasn't it, Royce?
Yeah. I love, like, listen to Freddie talk about some of the crazy things that his grandpa done, because I love talking about some of the crazy things that I'm really lucky. My other grandpa is still alive and with me every day in the distillery, and he's wilder than hell. I mean, absolutely wild. And him and Booker would have loved each other. Those two would have got along great. But that story about Booker shooting that damn 12 gauge in the middle of Bardstown through that hay bale and launching that slug into the middle of that smokehouse, damn it, if that don't sound like Papa, I don't know what does.
That's funny. That's a good one. It's patterning that shotgun too. Patterning it to go turkey hunting, and then shooting that slug. He didn't think it'd go through the door, and my mom was telling him, Booker, you better put something in front of that door. It's going to go through that door. You know, you're talking about a door. As Steve was saying, it's on the smokehouse where we cure our hams. The smokehouse was built, as far as we know, the same time frame of the house. The house was built in 1820. So I mean, you're shooting, and the door probably, I mean, it's got T. Jeremiah Beam's initials carved in it, so it's fairly old, you know. So it's probably close to an original door. And he just blows that shotgun, and like you said, it's sitting right there. I mean, you couldn't have been another block, and you would literally have been dead center of the downtown bar.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Yeah. I love it. So yeah, just that kind of stuff, and just hanging out and talking. And it's great to hear people that are doing this, because, you know, I mean, I had a corporate job and I didn't want to talk about that job at all. You guys have jobs that you guys love, you know, and it's so great to be able to connect with guys like you and just, you know, talk whiskey. So it's cool.
When you get together,
we got to do it again.
Yeah. And the conversation just keeps flowing. Like I remember I had that meeting, it was at 2, I think, and you know, we
ran it over.
Right. I'm like, oh shit, I got to get on this call. Anytime you get together with people and the stories flow so well that you lose track of time, you know you're in good company. There's a quote, I don't remember who it said, Royce, you kind of touched on it. It's like, if you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you'll become the 6th. It's a similar thing. You don't, it doesn't have to be, you know, that's about money, but and we're just surrounding. I like to surround myself with people that have knowledge of distilling, whether it's similar to mine or completely different. You know, I was actually talking with Todd Leopold this morning about something I'd followed up with him a while back, and I hadn't heard back, and he missed my message. I just enjoy talking with distillers because I think we all offer a little bit different take on literally the same thing, distilling, you know, and it's every distiller has a little different take on how they do it. There's similarities, you know, in things we do, things we differ, and a lot of it drives what drives the flavor of our products. But it's great to talk about the kind of gray area that none of us have been, or even sometimes the gray area. You know, Royce, you've got a lot of stuff from your family's history. I've told y'all before, we suck at keeping stuff. You know, we don't have old bottles. You'd think we'd have old bottles. We actually purchased, the company purchased a bottle. It was the first ever bottle that had JB Beam on it. And it was essentially a private bottle for the Pendennis Club. And it's the oldest known bottle, 1916, oldest known bottle with James B. Beam or Jim Beam, you know, with the name on it.
Right.
But we had to purchase it and we didn't have that. And it's funny, I went to Japan right before COVID outbreak. I mean, it was February, right at Super Bowl time. So it was kind of outbreaking in China. And I was in a bar in Japan, and this fellow brings out a damn Pendennis Club bottle. And I thought, gosh, damn, we just bought one of those. And he said, you know where I got this bottle? I said, no clue. He said, I've been to Kentucky 3 times. In 1992, your grandfather gave me this bottle in your backyard. So Granddaddy gave the oldest known bottling with Beam, the word Beam on it. He gave it to a fellow, a pretty avid whiskey collector. It's Rosian's Tavern in Japan. I mean, he's got a hell of a whiskey collection. If there's any place I would say to go outside the US, this bar here is the shit, I'm telling you.
Really?
This guy had this bottle, and I thought, when we left there, I was with Greg Davis. I told him, I was laughing. He said, what are you laughing at? I said, if you would have known what the company paid for this damn bottle just a few months ago, and then to know that, 20 years ago, my grandfather just gave it to this Japanese fellow who was visiting just because he was an avid collector, and Granddaddy thought he probably deserved it. And it just kind of comes full circle because the guy did keep it, like Royce keeping those stills. The guy kept it. Here I was. He had no clue I was coming there. Greg had been there a couple of times. He said, man, you got to meet this guy. So we pop in this after we get done at the Yamazaki Distillery. We pop in to this little bar, and this guy pulls his bottle. And it's just so funny. Those stories and how close it was to us talking about and purchasing that bottle is kind of funny. But yeah, we don't have a good collection of historic things. So a lot of mine is bouncing things off of stories that Royce, you hear about distilling, and trying to get some, get a good collection of what could have been going on. Or even like when we do the Dusty tasting, Steve, with the old Beam bottles, tasting those, our Suntory folks, they've got a pretty good library as well. And so that gray area could actually be backtracking in time just due to production changes. So there's so much to talk about when you get with distillers and good company. Possibilities are endless. Yeah.
So Freddie, is there any last one I want to ask here? Is there any truth to this? And of course, we got a little text string, the three of us, and we were giving you some trouble on this today. You're always too busy when we play cards. Are you scared? Just admit it if you are.
I'm not scared. I was going to say, my thing was, I'm going to accuse you of knowing my daughter's soccer.
You think I'm scared? I'm scheduling them when you can't play because I'm scared. Yeah.
It's not just a game. You schedule them when they have tournaments where it's like a weekend full of soccer. You can't even get me on just a straight Saturday where I could go, I could go to the game at 11, come home, and then get ready to come play. No, you catch me when I'm going to be sitting there all damn day, roasting in the sun. So I'm accusing you of setting me up to not be able to.
Okay, well, maybe there may be some truth to that.
It's either that or like I'm still accusing. I don't know. It might be the real Royce now, but I'm telling you, that was a clone on here when we first started.
Oh yeah, that was like Max Headroom. Yeah.
Here's the damnedest thing about it, Akley. We even got Uber nowadays. The man he ain't got like his dad who had to throw them breadcrumbs to get back to Bardstown when he went to hang out with Bronner. No, he can Uber back.
Uber don't even come to Bardstown. Uber doesn't come to Bardstown. So I would have to drive to Louisville, then get an Uber, then talk someone around here into driving me back down there. And I'm telling you, when you in Bardstown, you say going to Louisville, that's like an all-day thing to people. They don't just do it.
Really?
So
They don't do it, huh?
We've
Oh,
all
yeah.
passed out on those couches upstairs that Bronner's got. Freddie,
Yeah.
you pass out up there too.
see, then my wife might be a little bit upset. What the hell? You go
Well,
play cards with a bunch of guys and you sleep on a couch? What the
we can't claim that doesn't happen. You know,
hell?
can't please everybody at cards.
It's true. That's
Right,
true.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks so much. Royce, you want to share anything, social media, anything like that? People want to follow the journey?
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Neeley Family Distillery, NeeleyFamilyDistillery.com.
All right, Freddie, how about you?
So yeah, we'll do jimbeam.com, and we're actually kind of doing some renovation of our social pages. So I'm not going to share those right now, but in the coming future, I will have some nice handles to share.
Stay tuned. All right. McNew, how about you?
I'm also on Instagram at McNew ABV.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find at Steve Akley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakley.com. We've also got a company website, abvnetwork.com. Check it out because everything that we do is out there. Our previous shows, blogs, so much more, abvnetwork.com. Don't forget Bourbon Sasquatch, too. That is on YouTube. That's where you can watch this show. You're watching it right now. Now you know where to go. McNew, anything else to say before we get out of here?
Yep, I'd like to remind the audience to please hit that subscribe button for Bourbon Sasquatch on YouTube, where all of our shows will be posted. And when you're watching an episode, please give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, and share it. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. And next week, we'll have Alan Bishop of Spirits of French Lick and Turner Wathen of Rolling Fork Spirits.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye. Hey, Steve, did you have anything else you wanted to announce?
Was there something else I wanted to announce?
Yeah, you told me to save it. The Weller winner?
Oh, yes. We need to make the record scratching noise.
Scratch noise?
Yes.
I forgot too, but I just remembered.
We did a Weller giveaway. Okay, we'll do that
We
real
have to
quick.
give away our subscribers.
All right, there was 23 people here. Let's see here. I'm going to generate, and then McNew will tell us what it is. It's going to be number 20. Who's our lucky winner?
Number 20 is Bridget Young.
Bridget Young. Congratulations, Bridget. We will get you a bottle of Weller Special Reserve, our weekly winner. How about that? Thanks for reminding me of that, McNew. All right. See you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye. All right.